I started playing tennis at the age of 5, 6 years old.
I started like at 8 years old, more or less.
12 years old.
How old? I was little one, 5, 6 years old.
My first racket was a Dunlop Maxima made with wood, and it had a very thin heart and a very small racket size. It was like 85, I think, and natural gut strings.
My first racket was very small racket. It was like this. And so heavy. So difficult to play with these rackets.
First racket, if I remember, it was a boot racket, and the mark of the racket, I think, was Dal Schlesinger.
Sometimes the young kids, we were playing with our parents' rackets. So we took the very heavy rackets, boot rackets, and very small head. So we start with that, with these ones, but anyway, they were always boot rackets on that time.
My first great racket was the world famous John McEnroe Dunlop G200 or 2000, I can't remember, 200.
Great. The Donai Pro Board was still like this, but was when I have like 13 years old, more or less, I started to play with this racket. It was great in that time.
Great racket. In those times, we used to play with boot rackets, and I liked them. I changed after many years when the metal rackets became part of the tennis, and then I used a Dunlop Max Play racket.
The great racket, we have a change. When I was 18, even 20 years old, I still playing with the boot racket. So I remember playing the Davis Cup with a very small racket, boot racket. This is the rackets we used. So a few years later, it was the good change. Like maybe it was 1985, 84, something like that.
When I changed, I was too young to understand the different feelings. Whatever racket I had, I played good. The best racket I had, I think, was the Head Extreme.
The weight of the rackets is one, because like this you can hit fast the ball, because you can move easier the ball, the racket, and then the ball goes fast, and you can do more effect to the ball, more like a spin or for the serve also.
The change is the innovation of new materials. After we used to play with wood, they start putting some materials there like graphite, iron, and then all of a sudden it became much more helpful for the shots, because the ball began to go faster.
So the big change was passing from the wood with the other ones, what they call graphite rackets, and the wood was over, so that was very, very fragile. So you do like this and it was breaking always. So that was the big change.
The sweet spot and control over the ball, of course.
Now the material, for sure. The material now is like you can hit so strong with the rackets from today.
I think the materials, consistently they are adding new materials to the racket to make it improve.
Well, from that moment, the materials were better and lighter and with more power. So if you see how they play now and before, they play much harder because of the materials. You can play harder and you don't break the rackets, and it's much easier for the arm, for the injuries and everything. So that's the big thing.
for sure they will find some material that gives back more energy and some new strings. But the rackets, I don't think they will change much, as in size and shape.
I think the new rackets have to be with a chair. You have to put the rackets on the chair and then you have to play like no, I really don't know what the materials goes now, but for sure they do a lot of new things like a percentage of mistakes, or for sure they put inside something like for the computer, for sure.
There is a point that the racket cannot help you anymore. All will be depending on the technique of the player. Sometimes to put material on the racket that goes make the ball goes very fast is also not that good, because you don't have that much control on the shots. So it will be a point that really cannot help you anymore.
Who knows? If you know, so let's work on that, because then you will be rich. So I suppose, like everything, they make changes every year with the shoes, with the rackets. So every year is better and better. Who knows? I imagine it's gonna be lighter and with more power. So you can play more power, more hard, and less injuries. So this is what it's gonna be for sure.
Van también de etiqueta. Atención, al segundo juego sirve Sergio Casal.